Hey guys, welcome back to the Glow Recipe. I finally can use that in my intro because I figured out a name for my channel that wasn't taken already. So I'm really excited to start this journey, and I named it the Glow Recipe because I want this channel to be just a channel that exudes radiance, confidence, a channel that illuminates, this part of YouTube, a channel that is a light, honestly, for others, and a channel that is very authentic to me. And I feel like that's kind of who I am as a person and what I encompass. And I also named it like the Glow Recipe because like I'm giving y'all the recipe to how I just glowed up, how I leveled up, how I started feeling more confident in myself, in who I am. Um, and yeah, that's why like in my description box it says like, a community where big sis and little sis reconnect, because um, I feel like I would want to find somebody like me when I was younger and going through what I was going through. So yeah. Uh, okay, so this is basically like a part two for the people pleasing video. I have no idea what I'm gonna name it yet. I'm not sure, but this is a part two for that. Okay, so point number one is you are not a superhero, stop acting like one. Basically, what this means is that it's not your job, and I don't want you to feel obligated to constantly rescue people that come to you with their issues, their problems, to constantly be the one to find a solution for them. Um, yes, it's helpful, yes, it's nice, but it's not your job. And it's not your job to fix people either, right? And it's not your job to rescue those, especially certain people that would not even put in that energy to rescue you if you were in that situation. So, for example, okay, this first example is going to be like a family example. I feel like it's important to have one because um, family can be like sometimes difficult to deal with. Okay, like let's just be honest. And I wanted to showcase an example where the first example is going to be me standing on business, me saying no to someone coming to me about a problem, and then the next example is going to be me actually overextending myself and going out of my way to fix, you know, something that honestly they should be able and are perfectly capable of wanting to fix for themselves if they want help. Okay? So, um, and you'll know what I mean by that when I get into the second example. But basically, I have a younger brother, okay? And because he's a younger child, I find that he's coddled. Um, yeah, he's coddled. They don't have much expectations for him. And by they, I mean my mom and my grandma, okay? Like, let's just keep it a buck. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of that. I feel like that definitely played a role. But basically, I used to babysit these girls, right? Okay, these two sisters, I used to babysit them. I babysat them for 2 years. They were honestly a blessing to me. Like, I look at them as my younger siblings. Like, I built a very good bond and connection with them, and I'm always grateful for that. Um, but I had to stop for school. So because I had to stop, like they still needed someone to not drop them off, pick them up, and to a place that they can come to still for when their parents weren't home on time, right? So, they came to my brother, and they had asked my mom. It was a whole conversation, and he had a choice. Okay, keep that in mind. He had a choice to decline if he felt like he didn't like it, and he chose to accept. He chose to accept, and he started babysitting them. And in the first few months of him babysitting them, it still felt like I was babysitting them. And this is not to say that I expected to be fully detached from them because they're still coming to our house. It's not like I expected not to speak with them or anything, but um, that wasn't the goal for me either. I wasn't trying to detach from them, but it still felt like I was babysitting them because, well, for example, my grandma, she would come to me and, um, she would say like, oh, we have nothing in the fridge today, like blah blah, like, what do you think we should give them? And she would turn and ask me this, and I'm like, why are you asking me? Shouldn't you be asking the person that's involved in the babysitting? Shouldn't you be asking my brother? So I didn't say this at first, like I was giving suggestions, but I'm just here like in the back of my mind, like, why are y'all asking me? And so that's what I mean by he can be coddled. And my grandma, like, she would do the food and stuff for him because like he wouldn't come home early enough to like set up and actually do the food beforehand. And even then, when he did come home early enough, he was not doing that. So yeah, he would like stay after school to play basketball, whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can do that, but remember, you have a responsibility. You have like a responsibility to come home on time, because that's another thing. You'll be cutting it close to the time that you're supposed to pick them up. So there is just a lot going on, right? And it felt like I was babysitting them because I would constantly have to tell him like, hey, they're in the living room, you're over here in like what, 4 stairs up from them, like a level up, and you're in the dining table area, and you're over in the corner over there on your laptop. You're not watching them. You're not looking over them. They can't see you. You can't see them. You can't see what they're doing. And I told them multiple times, you need to come to the living room, or you need to come closer, like to the farther end of the dining table, so you could have a peripheral view of them at the very least. Like, I was constantly telling him this, and he would not listen. He dismissed what I was saying. Sometimes he would ignore it, whatever. And so I just kind of stepped back, and I was like, okay, since you think you know it all, okay, since you think you can do better, even though I was the one who started babysitting them first, be my guest. Go ahead, prove me wrong. Okay? So I stopped saying certain stuff to him. Like, I would tell him, like, hey, when they come inside, make sure they wash their hands. Like, that's the first thing they should be doing, all this little stuff. And again, he was being overall very stubborn. He'd have his like little rude remarks to say or whatever. So I left it alone, and it's so funny because my mom ended up saying the exact same things that I was telling this boy. The exact same things that I was telling him about him needing to come closer so he could actually see the girls, all that stuff. Because mind you, our living room, we have couches, obviously. So, they could be jumping on the couches, doing tumbles, flips, whatever, doing something they're not supposed to do. We have a freaking little glass coffee table thingy. Like, you have to watch them. Okay, you have to watch them. So my mom said the exact same thing that I was saying, and all of a sudden now is when he wants to move and when he wants to do what he should have been doing in the first place, right? Okay, keep that in mind. So one day he comes to me. One day he comes to my room and he's like, oh, like, I need you to pick up the girls. Like, can you babysit today because I have a meeting with my teacher? I'm like, did you, like, who set up this meeting? Was it you? Was it the teacher? Like, who set up the timing for this meeting? He's like, oh, it was me. And I'm like, okay, if you did it, if you were the one who set it up, why would you set it on a time in the afternoon where you could potentially have to pick up the girls? And he's like, oh, like, I forgot, like, blah, blah, I forgot. I straight up told him, I'm like, no, I'm not picking them up. No. Like, I'm not picking them up for you. And when I tell you, he had an attitude about it. Like, I mean, like a few hours. And you know what? Here's what I told him too. It's not like I didn't try to give him some sort of solution or advice. Like, I literally told him, I'm like, if you have to email your teacher, okay? If you have to email your teacher to reschedule, then do what you gotta do. But you can't not pick them up. You can't leave them at the freaking stop. You have to sacrifice that meeting or something. You gotta do something. And yeah, he had got mad at me for basically saying, like, no, I won't pick them up. And it's so funny, he had the nerve to be upset afterwards because, mind you, when I was offering you my help, you didn't take it. When I was offering you my help, you were being rude. When I was offering you my help, you were stubborn. Now that my help is convenient for you, and it's in the form that you want it to be, and now you want me to help you? No, absolutely not. And the thing is, it wasn't me not wanting to pick them up because of like a dislike for them or anything. No, that was not the case. That was not the issue. It was just a principle. It was really just a principle. And no, like, I also felt like he came to me low-key last minute. Like, why would you? No. And so, like I said, he had the nerve to be upset. And I asked him afterwards, like a few hours after, like, oh, like, how was your meeting? Did you get to go to it? Blah, blah. He's like straight up just like not. He's like very standoffish. Like, he's not ignoring, but like he's low-key ignoring. And I was like, oh, okay, so you want to have an attitude because I said no. Right, okay. So I came down to his room and I'm like, if I was in the situation that you were in and I asked you to pick up the girls, would you have picked them up? Would you have picked them up? And of course, he's there hemming and hawing, not really answering the question and da-da-da. And I'm like, no, would you have picked them up? Because first he tried to lie, talking about yes. No, the frick you wouldn't have. Please, don't lie to me. I said, don't lie to me. Don't piss on me and call it rain, please. And don't piss me off either. Then he eventually said no, and I'm like, exactly. You wouldn't have done the same for me. Why would you expect that I would do the same for you? I'm just giving the energy you give me. And that's why I used to hate when my grandma or my mom would like call and be like, oh, like Christian said da da da, like, can you pick up the girls for him, da da da. No, I'm not. And y'all might think I'm being difficult, I'm not being a good sister, I'm being mean, but no, I'm just standing on business. It's the principle, because this one thing my brother has is a tendency to act any type of way, to speak any type of way towards me, and then he expects my cooperation. Ho, is you cool? Are you dumb? No, absolutely the hell not. So if he didn't dismiss my words, if he came to me with a better attitude when I was actually willing to give him that advice and help him out, I probably would have been inclined to help him out. But his attitude and the fact that I knew he wouldn't have done the same for me is why I declined. So, and that's the thing too. It's not a situation in which he got sick, because I have helped out. I have picked them up when he got sick. It's not a situation in which it was out of his control. It was very much in his control. Because you were the one who set the meeting. You were irresponsible, and that caused this issue. Now you want me to clean up your mess? After how you... No, absolutely not. Like, I was not... No, like, I was not born the firstborn daughter of my mother's womb to be a problem solver for you and your issues. No. You made that mess, figure it out. So yeah. And also, a disclaimer, like, me and my brother's dynamic, we've struggled in the past with getting along and things like that. But we've come a long way, and, you don't know the behind the scenes, you don't know what's been done and said from both parties. So please do not try and act like, oh, like you're such a mean sister because you didn't know. No. Some of y'all have worse relationships with your siblings than I have. Don't talk to me about it. Because don't talk to me about what you got going on. So that's what I'm saying. Like, y'all don't know the behind the scenes. You don't know our dynamic. Don't pretend that you do, and don't act like you do. We have come a long way, yes, but he knows I'm not one of his little friends, and he knows I will return energy. The way that that's the thing too, like, I saw this quote, it was like, the way that I treat you depends on how you treat me. So that's that first situation, right? Where he came to me and I had to stand on business, and I said no. Now for the second example. So I have a friend, and obviously, us being friends, like we follow each other on social media, and she has me in her close friends, and she would post a lot on her story, and then a few posts on her close friends every now and then. And I remember she posted something on her close friends, and she's like, "Oh, I feel like the way I look doesn't match the way I see myself." And anytime she says something like that, I would reply, and I'd be like, like, why do you feel like why do you feel like it doesn't match, like you don't, why do you see yourself in that way, like why do you feel like how you look doesn't match the way that you perceive yourself, right? And my problem is that I will constantly try to like fix, people's insecurities. I'll always constantly try to like build up people's self-esteem, but that's obviously like their job. They have to want to do that. And especially if you're my friend and you're saying negative things about yourself, I'm always going to be that friend to kind of like stop you right there and step in. So she said this, and I would really try to dissect and analyze, the origin of her like self-loathing and where this self-hatred is coming from. And she knows about my background and like our like living situation, how we grew up and all that stuff, and vice versa. I know that about her. So I'll try to dissect and analyze, and and tell her like, oh, maybe it's because of this, maybe it's because of that, based off what I knew about her background. And that wasn't my job to do. That was not my job to do. And she'll talk about like plastic surgery, and how she wants to get a specific procedure done for her face. I'm not going to say what, because that's none of y'all's business, and that's honestly doing too much. I'm not here to air out her business. I'm just using this as an example. And so yeah, she would talk about this one specific plastic surgery thing, and I'd be like, I would always say like, you don't need it. You really don't need it. And I'm not, but because I'm her friend, I feel like she just believed that I was telling her that because I'm her friend. But I truly don't think she needs anything done. And I would say that getting plastic surgery, like, it could become something addicting because you're not going into it with a secure mindset about yourself and how you look at yourself. And because of that, you could get something done and then look at your face and then want to fix more stuff. So you get plastic surgery blind, and you just keep going and going and going until you do too much, and until the damage is irreversible. Um, and so I'm not obviously like completely against plastic surgery, because I know things like skin grafting and other procedures are done to help those who have been in like fires. If you've broken your nose and you need the plastic surgery for it, if you've been in an accident, like whatever the case might be, like I know that there is a need for it. Or even if you were like born with like a defect or something, and plastic surgery can help you, I guess, feel more normal, like it was, especially with just with your day-to-day lives. And like I said, as much as we hate to believe, looks do play a part in how people treat us. So I understand, but at the same time, plastic surgery, the majority of people getting it, especially the younger generation, the majority of people getting it are people that are getting it to fit a mold, to keep up with trends. They're not, majority of people that are getting it are not people that have been in accidents. And so at the end of the day, we need to realize, like, plastic surgery in the industry, it profits off of women's insecurities. And I find it so weird how like women kind of get the brunt hatred for plastic surgery, but there's men that do plastic surgery too. But that's a whole other topic. And I also find it weird that that doctors that do these procedures, like especially ones that have big platforms and all that stuff, they'll comment on other women's looks, and they'll say things like, oh, she looks old, or oh, this and that, and like they're basically belittling them, but they're the same ones promoting these procedures. And I just find it very hypocritical, very tone deaf, and especially considering that their paycheck is dependent on these people, they capitalize off of these people's insecurities. So very weird for them to go on TikTok and other platforms and just do all those stuff. But that's not really the point. That's neither here nor there. I'm saying all this to say that it didn't matter how many times I told her and reassured her. At the end of the day, she's the one who has to do the work to change her perspective and to change her mindset and to get a positive outlook. Um, so yeah, like even with these types of videos, like you can't constantly watch these videos, right? And constantly watch these videos while simultaneously not implementing these tips, these strategies, nothing, and expect to see change. That's insanity. That's literally the textbook definition. Like, being insane is, or insanity comes about when you continuously do something, and you expect a different result. Doing one thing over and over will only get you the same result. So, it's the same way how these videos that I'm making cannot guarantee that you'll be more confident. It cannot guarantee that you'll, stop people pleasing and all this stuff. It can give you motivation, it can inspire you, but at the end of the day, that's something that you have to want to fight for. So me realizing this and coming to this conclusion, I just had to take a step back, and anytime I would see like basically like self-deprecating posts from her, I would just kind of ignore it, because I had to realize that it was draining on me, like emotionally, mentally. Like, you take, because as an empathetic person, you take it on. Like, you really are trying to help them, but if they're stuck in that same cycle, then they have to be the ones to help themselves get out of it. So yeah, you'll be burnt out. So for your sanity, for your peace of mind, just step back. And now point number 2 is definitely one that I also have to keep in mind. Stop giving free advice. Okay, stop giving free advice. Just because someone is venting to you doesn't mean that they want your advice. Only give it if it's asked. And the reason I say this is because, what you have to say, especially with the way you say it, matters. And that friend, that person may not appreciate your advice and what you have to say. And they could take it the wrong way. And then it could cause an issue. And then now, they've done like a whole 180 and they're switching up on you. Now, they're like attacking you, when it's like, no, babes, I'm trying to help you. I told you to cut him off because he was being verbally abusive. Now you're getting upset at me? Oh no. No, no, no. So yeah, I would say only give advice if it's asked for. And then that's another thing. You have to realize that not everyone that you extend your time and energy to deserve it, because you could spend this time like making this paragraph, this breakup paragraph for your friend's toxic boyfriend, and then 2 days later they get back together, or they don't even use it, they don't even break up with him in the first place. There's lots of women that have been through that, and honestly I find that kind of disrespectful, because I'm extending my time, my energy, my intellect, and I'm pouring into you so that you can articulate yourself properly, so that you know what you want to say, so that you can end it off peacefully, or that you can get out the situation. And you're just over here like going back after not even an hour. You're here going back not even after 2 days. No. So yeah, like not everyone that vents to you is looking for a solution. Okay, some of them like the cycle that they're stuck in. It makes their lives interesting, and it gives them an excuse to do it for the plot. Those people are energy vampires. Okay, they will suck up the life out of you. They will drain your cup until you are as dry as the Sahara Desert, and until you have nothing left to offer. And then once they've used you, they will discard you. So start gatekeeping your services. Stop giving your opinion for free. Stop giving your advice for free. Now, I know what I'm doing is basically giving my advice for free, like here on YouTube, but trust and believe, I plan to get paid for it. I'm manifesting that for myself. So, yeah. Point number 3 is forgiveness doesn't equal proximity. Okay? Now, what I mean by this is that it's okay to still enforce a boundary after you've forgiven someone. It doesn't make your apology insincere or disingenuous, nor does it make you bitter or holding a grudge. It just means you're not stupid. It just means you're not stupid. So, if you say to a person like, oh, I forgive you, and then they're expecting to, have access to your life again, you are still perfectly within your right to enforce that boundary and say, I forgive you, but I think we need some space. I think we still need to slow down. And people just for some reason take that as holding a grudge, and I'm just like, no, we're not. Because here's the thing, holding a grudge means you have some sort of resentment, some sort of anger, some sort of issue with the person still, and you don't have that. You've forgiven them. That's the whole point of forgiveness. You don't have that in your heart. But that doesn't mean you're going to be stupid and let them do you in. Like, why would I want to make the same mistake twice? That doesn't make sense. The saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me? Yeah. How come that doesn't apply when it comes to forgiveness? And especially with the older generation too, because I have an example where, I've lived in the neighborhood that I've lived in for a while. So, some people in the neighborhood have seen me like basically grow up when I was like a young girl. And there's this one guy, and he's neighbors with my ex-childhood friend or whatever. And I remember one time when we were outside, he came to me and he was like, or I think he called me over, and he was like, oh, like, what's going on with you and so on, so on, Caribbean people. And I was like, oh no, like, we're just not like talking with each other right now, like, we're just not cool. And he's like, oh, but you should learn to forgive, da, da, da. And he's preaching about this like forgiveness to me, and the whole time I'm like, I already forgave her. That's not the issue. I already forgave her. And I would say at that point, at that moment in time, I probably didn't forgive her as much as I actually have now, because I actually have healed and grown from that situation. But I wasn't harboring any resentment towards her, that's for sure. And so he was like, oh, y'all can talk it out, blah blah blah, da da da. Why are you just here, like, because he was basically saying that I was sitting there not really like talking, interacting with them. I'm like, yeah, no, why would I? And he was trying to like preach this forgiveness thing, and the whole time I'm just thinking, like, I can forgive someone and I don't have to talk to them. I'm not obligated to be cool with them after I forgive someone. That's my choice. Alright, now for the fourth point, which is do it for yourself, not others. And so what I mean by this is, for example, let's say you found my channel because you want to go up and you were bullied and you want to prove your haters wrong. That's not you doing it for yourself, that's you doing it for validation. And when it comes to validation is inherently people pleasing, right? And it co-signs people pleasing. You can't have one without the other. It cannot exist. One cannot exist without the other. So there's always going to be, if you are someone who is looking for validation, there's always going to be the validator, right? The person who you are looking for that validation from. And then there's going to be the people pleaser, which is you. So yeah, one cannot exist without the other. And when you are constantly doing things for others, you will never know what you want for yourself. You will never do things for yourself. You will never evolve. You will never know who you are as a person. So that's why this point is very important, for doing it for yourself and not for others. It could be something like, oh, let's say your parents, like, I don't know, you're graduated high school, right? And you want to do something that your parents you don't want to do, right? Like, you want to do something for yourself, go into a field, like maybe it's lawyer, I don't know, maybe it's I don't know, it could be anything. You want to be a lawyer, musician, artist, whatever the case may be. But let's say your parents are the ones who are pushing you to go to be a doctor, a nurse, a this, a that, a dentist, a dental assistant. Like, you have to do it for yourself. You have to live your life for yourself, because if you constantly live it for others, you will have no life of your own. And so obviously you have to be strategic about it. Like, if you want to go into artistry, like, obviously you can realize that, the chances of you being able to make a living off of art is slim. You can go into it realizing that, it's like you have to go into it realizing, like, okay, art may not be what sustains me, but maybe I can do art and then have like a side hustle or a side hobby or something on the side, right? So obviously I'm not saying to just ignore what your parents are saying, but be strategic. Don't be like thinking, oh, okay, like music is just gonna be what sustains me, because the chances of you making it is very slim. There's so much oversaturation in the industry, so you have to really, you know, be smart. You have to be strategic. So I'm saying this to say that, if there's a trip you want to go on, but your parents, and let's say, like, think of yourself as an adult, okay? Like, if you're not one already. Um, and let's say there's a trip you want to go on, your friend has invited you, and, it's something that you've really been wanting to do for a while. Like, and your parents are not really here for it. Maybe they're hovering, like helicopter parents. Maybe they're very strict or whatever. Like, you gotta realize that you have to start taking charge and doing things on your own, or else they're going to do things for you. They're going to take charge of your life for you. It's the same way how you have to know yourself, or else if you don't, the world is going to tell you who you are. And like 9 times out of 10, it's not an accurate description. Okay? So, yeah, do it for yourself, because at the end of the day, people can literally like turn on you in a heartbeat, okay? If you live for their validation, you will crumble from their hatred. I'm telling you. If you are trying to glow up so you can get into that popular friend group and blah blah, and then let's say you finally make it in, but then you realize it's not all it's English. But then you realize it's not all that it's cracked up to be, then you realize like, oh, the grass isn't actually greener on the other side. If anything, the grass is dying on the other side, but you thought it was green because you looking at it from a far perspective. You're not up close and personal, right? So that friend group could be, I don't know, the most toxic friend group that you have ever seen. Like, they could be talking behind each other's back, doing this, doing that, and competing with each other, blah blah. And you're over here like, the whole time you were trying to get into this group because you thought they were so cool, and you changed up yourself so much because you wanted to fit in with them so much, and then you realize, oh, y'all are sour. Like, y'all got some rotten tomatoes in the bunch. Like, So, yeah, do things for yourself. Point number 5, stop lowering yourself to be on other people's level, okay? Stop downplaying your achievements, your rewards, and your goals in life, okay? Stop downplaying them. Obviously, have discernment on who you can tell things to, because certain people will be jealous or certain people will take it as boasting. And obviously, you yourself have to assess like whether or not you're boasting or you're being boastful, but 9 times out of 10, they're just projecting their lack of accomplishment onto you. They're just projecting that. And I find it weird, because how do you want to be a successful person but you don't want to hear people's successes? That doesn't make sense. How do you want to be a successful person but you don't want to hear people's success stories, right? You don't want to see people being nominated for awards. And it's so stupid, because I'm like, the whole time you can use that as an opportunity, okay, to market yourself. You can use that as an opportunity to ask questions, to ask for advice. You can use that as an opportunity to network. You can use that as an opportunity to even create an opportunity, an opening for yourself, right? Because when you market yourself, when you network, you're telling people, basically, this is what I bring to the table. This is what I could bring to your business, right? So I find it so weird that people have this like mindset and are very narrow-minded and are like, oh, you're just boasting. Oh, you're just blah, 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 blah. And they take it immediately as a negative thing. I'm like, you could be doing so much better for yourself if you just flip the switch and started thinking more positive and using your resources to your advantage. So yeah, I think it's very weird that people do that. And I would say a good example of this is, I don't know if you guys have watched Singles Inferno, specifically season 1, but you will know that there's a contestant named Gia who was very popular among the guys, and even with like Korean media, even outside in Western media, she became like an overnight sensation. Now, obviously it wasn't overnight, because, she's had her YouTube channel for like, I think, at least her old one, for like 3 years prior to Singles Inferno, I think. And, she was definitely like working hard, and she wasn't as known as she is now, so it wasn't overnight, but that's just how it feels, right? Because her popularity just skyrocketed. And so because she carried herself with this, I would say je ne sais quoi. She carried herself with this authenticity. She carried herself with this like confidence, and she didn't lower herself. She didn't bring herself down to be on other people's level, and she wasn't pandering to people. She didn't humble herself. And what I mean by that is that, you know, people assumed her confidence to be arrogance, and because she didn't like want to go out of her way to, you know, show people and prove them wrong and try to be like morally correct, she instead just laid back. She sat back and she just did her own thing. She didn't care about other people's perceptions, right? So people were not only jealous of her looks, but the lifestyle that she had. She has this aura of like wealth and just royalty, right? And they sought out to humble her. What did I say in my previous videos? The world will try to humble you, right? And that's exactly what they did to Gia, because that resulted in her being canceled for fake designer, which I think is ironic because they never actually went after the people who sold the fake designer. They never went after the people who sold the counterfeit. And me as a fashion girly, like, I understand, as a designer, you don't want your designs to be taken by Shein and all these big corporations, and then they're mass produced, and they're making money off of something that is yours, that you could be making more money off of, because they're basically stealing your sales. Like, let's be real. So I understand the whole like counterfeit this and that, but I also understand that Gia got some of those gifts that she was wearing and that she had, those accessories and whatnot. She got some of those gifts from people, and then yes, she did go out and buy some of those things, but again, the Korean media was just focusing on her and her wearing them. They weren't focusing on trying to bring down or to try and bring up laws to stop counterfeit. So that's how you know it wasn't about the counterfeit goods. It wasn't about the fake designer. People saw her in a elevated way. They projected their feelings of inadequacy onto her, and when they saw an opportunity to humble her, they took it. So just know that when you refuse to lower yourself and put yourself down in front of others and lower yourself to be on other people's level, trust and believe you will get attacked. You will make enemies. It's just part of the journey. And people, what I've noticed at least, is that people would rather have women ask how to be confident than them already possessing the confidence themselves. So keep that in mind. Number 6. This is a very big point. Decenter men. Decenter men, okay? So this tip is for the ladies that realize they people please, right? When it comes to their boyfriends, when it comes to their talking stages, whatever, right? Or they become pick-me's when it comes to guys, right? So, and when I say pick-me, okay, I mean women that put other women down in order to be seen as the better option, in order to be picked by men, okay? Now, I believe personally that there's 2 types of pick-me's, okay? There's the textbook standard definition of a pick-me that puts women down for male validation, and then there's the pick-me that puts women down but to make themselves feel superior to women, okay? So I'm going to give 2 examples. So 1, this is a trick as old as time, okay? For some reason, every pick-me girl has this in their arsenal, but it's basically them going out of their way to embarrass their friend or their girlfriend or any girl in front of a group of guys. I don't know why they just jump to this one trick all the time, and it's just so telling. Y'all can't come up with something new? It's getting old, babes. It's redundant. Anyways, let me not start something. But yeah, like, that example would be an example of like a traditional pick-me girl, right? And then the second example that I'm going to give you is a girl that puts down other girls for wearing makeup because she has clear skin and doesn't feel the need to put on makeup, right? Now, I'm going to transport you into the mind of this pick-me girl, okay? The reason why she's a pick-me, okay? She feels superior because in her mind, she thinks makeup is for insecure women. Therefore, putting herself on a higher pedestal because she doesn't feel the need to wear makeup, even though makeup is a form of self-expression. Not every woman that wears makeup is wearing it to cover insecurities, to hide themselves. Makeup is a form of self-expression. It's art. Just like I think fashion is art. But they don't think that way. They have to put themselves on a pedestal and make themselves feel superior to others. Okay. Now, and let me just say this too before I move on. It's one thing, right, to have internalized misogyny, which honestly is a canon event for every girl, especially when you're young, and especially if you grew up in the generation that I grew up in, which was the 2000s. Okay, they pushed it in the media, you know, hating the color pink, you know, all the canon event stuff, right? And it's another thing to project that internalized misogyny onto women. Okay, now you may be wondering, what does this have to do with people pleasing? Men are people, are they not? And you're trying to please them, are you not? Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. So hush up and let me finish. Okay? Now, if you have realized that this is you, your main goal should be decentering men. Your main goal is to stop making them a vocal point in your life, to stop making them a priority in your life. Okay? Now, it could be something as simple as, you know, stop changing your style and personality to attract a certain type of man or a certain lifestyle that they can provide you. Okay? Doing these things will not guarantee you get the soft life, right? They will not guarantee that you get the princess treatment that you deserve, that you were craving. Okay? It will not even guarantee that you will attract the real deal. Now, what I mean by this is that men can be just as inauthentic as you are to them, right? Those big chains that you see on his neck, that Rolex on his arm, okay? He could have spent his last penny on those things. He could have spent his savings to acquire that jewelry. He could be in debt, credit card debt, or whatever type of debt, right? But you would never know that because he's putting on a facade. You would never know that he's as broke as a junkyard dog, because just as you are as capable of putting on a mask, he is as well. Real provider men, let me just say this, real provider men don't care about what aesthetic you are, they just care about providing for you. So, as a girl, you do not want to be known as that boy crazy friend, as the friend that only talks about guys every time y'all hang out. It's honestly pathetic, okay? Because you mean to tell me that you have nothing else that you're interested in? You have nothing else going on for yourself? You have nothing else that you can talk about? Like, men are on your mind 24/7? 365? No. Like, please, release us, my sisters, from the shackles of men. Please, stop this madness, okay? Alright, and also one thing I will say is that once you recover from being a pick-me, from being a people pleaser for your boyfriend, for any man that's in your life, for your father, whoever, I'm telling you, you will start to realize how many of their opinions you disagree with. You will start realizing that most of the men out here are just talking out of their ass, and it stinks. P.U. It smells. It's funky. Okay? Other people in your life are going to try and have things to say like, oh, you're mean, you're selfish, you're this, you're that, but take it as a compliment, because remember, you being selfish with your time, with your energy, with what you focus your mind on is what they wish they would have done when they were your age, and what they wish they would have done when they were younger, and you just have the guts to do it, and they didn't, and they still don't. So yeah, take it as a compliment. You are going to have people that dislike you for no reason. I will be making a video on that as well, but just honestly, just know that that's part of the journey. And you know, there is a double standard. Like when you as a woman decide that you want to prioritize yourself, prioritize your goals, you know, it's seen as selfish, but then when men do it, it's seen as ambitious, it's seen as goal oriented. So like, you know, people who are takers are going to be upset. They're going to be the ones calling you selfish and all this stuff, but just know that that's because they can no longer take from you. They're so used to taking and taking that when you say no, it's like offensive to them. and now that you have your walls up, your guard, your boundaries up, they can't take, and it pisses them off. So yeah, that's all I have for this video.